Oh my goodness, everyone. We're back. It is time for episode 3 of Art Class. Welcome to our classroom. Class is in session. How many times can I say class in this opening? I sound like Countess Luann. Class. Anyway, as always, I am Rocky Jones, and I'm here with my two fabulous, amazing co-hosts. First, we have the wonderful, the luminous, the always moisturized Paige Reynolds. Hello, Paige. How are you?
I am wonderful, moisturized, shea buttered down, all of that. Thank you for asking.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. And of course, what would we do without the amazing Dr. Lee Bynum? Hello, Dr. Lee Bynum.
Hello, Canada.
Canada?
Well, I say hello to America every week, and I don't want people to think that this is a heliocentric show. I am here for every country, everywhere.
Happy Black History Month. It's so exciting. My favorite month of the year, I think.
Mine too, child.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know, is there anything that you all are doing in particular this year in order to celebrate or...
I thought about this and then I realized I was thinking a little too hard about it. And I was like, I enjoy having a blackety black existence 365 all year round. And so maybe I don't need to plan anything special, but just really enjoy everybody else. Giving Black people their accolades. It's the one time of the year that, people act like they actually know what it is. So maybe I'll just enjoy that. But yeah, as for me, myself, in this household, Black 365. So I don't know if anything special will happen.
All right.
I, like Paige, love to bask in the glow of, other people for once acknowledging, hey, did you know that this random thing happened or this random Black person did this thing? I'm like, yes, I absolutely knew. And I am so glad that it's February so that you can know it too. Yes.
And I've been trying to tell you for years. Why we've been doing this show for 65 episodes.
Yes, it is nice, though, for 1 month of the year not to be the only person walking around reciting random things from Black history. I actually do really, really appreciate that other people get in on the act, at least this month.
Mm. Well, I guess I was a little bit surprised because, I feel like this is the time of year that, especially as Black artists, we are asked to do so many things, asked to present, asked to perform, and it's lovely. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. This is the time of year that people want to hear from us, want to see what we've created, want to figure out the next thing that they can steal. What? I kid. But yeah, this is a time of also, especially there's an extra day this year, child. So this, it's very easy to, become overextended. So I'm glad to hear that that's not happening for either one of you.
Not at all. Boundaries are a thing that, I feel like I'm getting better at, like solidly better at this time in my life. And there's a particular way that people demand or expect labor from Black folks, and especially around things that we care about. It's like Black History Month, Black history, Black culture. Like, you love Black history and culture, don't you? You love being Black. So Right for us. Let's talk about it. And a lot of the time you feel like it should be, it's the right thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's so
But
important.
sometimes it's so important. It's so important. But I think I've realized like really centering Black folks can sometimes look like me centering my rest.
Yeah.
And centering things that actually fill me up and rejuvenate me and allow me to do the real work that I know I'm here to do, you know?
Yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day because, we had been sort of banding about ideas about, what to talk about at the top of the show, and we were thinking about self-care. And I was like, who has like such good boundaries is Paige.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
It's just like, Paige, do you want to do this now? Paige, when can you do this? I can do this on Monday and Wednesday between 2 and 4 o'clock. And that's when no, I will be traveling. No, I will be resting. And I was just like, man, if I had boundaries like Paige, I'd be like a superhero. Like, how do you do that in the face of like so much pressure to like not have boundaries?
True. That's a great question. Honestly, I learned the hard way from what happened when I didn't have boundaries. Like I have worked to the point of being sick before or being like so tired that I, take on additional illnesses because my body is just like, I don't have enough fuel and rest, or I'm super stressed out. And anxious, and that causes all kinds of things to go wrong with the body. I don't think we talk enough about how stress is the root for so much disease, especially the main diseases that Black folks tend to get more than others.
Hypertension,
stress is
heart
one of the
disease,
yep,
so on and so forth.
It's probably also worth getting into a little bit that there are the broader systemic issues that we talked about on the show for the last 2 weeks also have a huge bearing on the mental health of Black people. And what we're, thinking about aren't just like racism as like a weird, sort of force that no one can really describe in any kind of useful way. We're actually talking about differentials in mass incarceration and drug enforcement laws. We're talking about also the ways that the actual classification systems and epidemiological data sets are actually problematic themselves in terms of the ways that we categorize information about Black communities. And then so many of the other historical pieces that go to poverty rates, education rates, all of those kinds of things actually have a huge impact on mental health in the Black community. And I think a lot of times we talk about it in terms of like these cultural pieces, Black people don't like talking to therapists, but there are actually reasons that are well beyond that have nothing to do with that are making differentials in the first place. And I think it's important that we talk about them and that we also talk about them all year. As our dear friend Nkiru Okoye likes to say, I'm Black all year, not just in February, right? And I think these pieces of the things that are shaping and limiting how Black people participate in the country are things that probably should be brought up with a greater level of regularity if we're going to be able to find some solutions to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you do, Lee, in the face of all of that stuff to keep your sanity intact as much as
is humanly possible?
Thank you for saying it.
2024. I have a firm belief in incentivizing activities for myself. So the way I think about it is when I have to do like, let's say 6 things that I determine to be complicated over the course of a week, I give myself 6 treats. I like to treat myself nicely, right? And I used to have this really big thing in my head about sort of like, deferred gratification. And then I started to realize why not treat myself the same way that you treat your pet? Your cat does something cute. Oh, I like that. Let me give you a treat. I do it with me. It's like, whoa, you had 9 Zoom meetings today. You deserve to go to bed 2 hours early. And it actually really does make a difference in my head because I don't feel like it's just like pure drudgery. Like I actually feel like I can identify the high point in my week because I put them in there throughout the week, little things that I know are going to make me feel good, even if they're frivolous. And that makes a huge difference for me.
I love that. And actually it's funny because Dennis and I had a conversation many years ago where we were in, my husband, by the way, for who doesn't know who Dennis is. We had a conversation. We were going through sort of a not great period. And I was like, what if we were as nice to each other as we are to the cat? And it was like, all right. And that seemed to light up a light bulb, I guess, for everyone.
I like that. I might have to apply that to my own interactions with people.
I'm just saying, not that I need scratches on my chin or anything, but the general idea.
I've also heard about with self-care comes community care also.
Yes.
And I think, I don't know what you just talked about, Rocky, with you and Dennis is a good example of that, like how just another person or group of people, that's often part of how we actually care for ourselves in more sustainable ways. So are there parts of either of y'all's practice or self-care routine that is more community care or that involves other people? I know I regularly remind myself to just call my friends, leave a voice message, and a lot of the time the response, even if it's a short one or, we get to have a quick check-in, it lifts my mood dramatically. So for me, that's part of what community care looks like. And co-working times. The community care thing for getting projects done and getting stuff out of my head.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of mine is also wrapped up in the idea of just connecting with people. A lot of the work that we do, I think just kind of, if you have any kind of administrative job post the pandemic, is going to be spent in some kind of solitary space on a Zoom screen. So I really do try to make sure at least once a week, I am having some kind of community space with people who are friends. They may also be people who share some professional affiliations, but even in those instances, it's like, no, we're here together so that we cannot talk about work or so that we can do something that all of us agree is completely stupid, but is great. Just kind of being shaken out of the routine sometimes is a really wonderful thing. And, I'm a little bit of a workaholic and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So putting myself in some kind of place where the actual goal is to do something completely pointless is so helpful for me personally.
Yeah, I think part of my practice, it's interesting because it started out as something that was just for me and kind of turned into a community where I wasn't expecting it. So, one thing that I have been really into since the pandemic, I was, theater nerd growing up and have terrible hand-eye coordination. So sports were never really my thing. It's true. It's why I can't drive my ADHD. It's a whole thing. Often self-care, quote unquote, was sort of, me just sort of kind of beating myself up in ways, coming home after a long day and just chugging a bottle of wine, zoning out, doom scrolling, all of those things. And I thought that was self-care. But it's super not, just by the way. And then, I started, therapy in earnest, and that was really helpful, and being able to, sit down and talk with someone. And then I started to, really kind of feel the effects of all of that during the pandemic. And it was just like my body doesn't feel good. Like, what can I do to like help my body feel good? And so that has turned into a pretty regular gym routine, where I go 3 or 4 times a week. And I found this little sort of hole in the wall gym by my house. I started working with a trainer and started to really, really get into it and really start to just really just feel better and feel much more, just limber and flexible and strong and all of those things. If you're ever interested in seeing thoughty pictures of me on the internet, follow my Instagram, Rocky Jones Picture Show. But what has happened though is like this little gym that I didn't even know was 10 minutes away from my house has started to become like a little community for me. And I go in and like there are all these really lovely people that work out at the same time. There are a bunch of queer folks, there are a bunch of folks of color. Like I had no idea that this place existed. And now like a lot of these people have become like genuine friends of mine. And it's so nice to be able to go and like lift some weights and, get support and then have like a nice conversation and then think about like, oh, like, you know, one of them invited me on vacation with them, this summer. It's just, I didn't realize that, the gym could also be sort of like a place to like lift each other up. I guess I always thought of it as like, big meatheads walking around and being like, what kind of protein do you drink, bro? And, whatever. But, and then that's turned into a yoga practice and turned into, just all sorts of mindfulness and also having, my therapist in my life. Well, actually, he just retired in December, so I'm looking for a new one. So if anybody knows, especially a queer Black therapist somewhere that I could see, that would be amazing. But it's just really completely changed my outlook and changed my life. I don't know if, a couple of years ago, I would have had the confidence to even, be here in this space with the three of you and, speaking my mind and, talking about my emotions and all of these things. So it's really just become just a really beautiful thing. Did that answer your question? I kind of went off on a tangent.
I mean, it did. And it's connecting other dots in my mind, like how you were talking about certain things that you thought were self-care that were actually self-destructive. I also think about buying things not being self-care necessarily.
Yeah,
That is a tough one. That is a tough one. I try to be super conscious of that because I just personally, politically, like I strongly believe that a lot of the troubles we're facing in the first place and the disconnection and sadness and also just lack of resources among Black folks has to do with the individualism and capitalism. And so I have to remind myself that like buying things doesn't fix it. It can feel good in a temporary moment. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes buying yourself your favorite meal can be the thing, and that's wonderful. But I try to remember that, like the long-term, more sustainable remedy comes from the community care and finding more connection and people helping each other to get resources too. Like self-care, our individual work is so important because it impacts how we show up in community and for others. And at the same time, like these huge systemic issues, especially like what Lee was talking about, aren't solved by like our individual problems. And I try to keep note of that. My work as a doula really illuminates that, or birth worker rather. I'm trying to get away from using doula, y'all, just because of the origin of the word. So please help me.
What is
in case you
the
don't
origin
know
of the word?
Yeah, so doula actually originally referred to like a female slave or birth attendant, like someone. Yeah, yeah.
That is good to know.
I did not know
Yep.
that.
Yep. I mean, it is something that we have recycled now, but it is originally a Greek, comes from ancient Greek. and means like, yeah, a woman who serves or something like that. Yeah, literally like female slave for a childbearing woman or something like that. And there are much better words. And there's birth worker, there's birth keeper, there's just better words. So birth worker. But the people, I see clients and like other birth workers from all types of backgrounds. And there's the self-care that I do for myself, but when I'm teaching it to them and they're also thinking about a child and finding childcare and food, and there's like very practical things that are part of them trying to address their self-care, I have to remember that, the buying things is not a solution. We're talking about trying to change the way we're in relationship to ourselves and each other, all of that. So yeah, and as a doula, my self-care practices came from there because you see a lot of rough stuff sometimes, and the frustration of dealing with medical racism. If I do not care for myself, I will lose it. So yeah.
And Rocky, there were a couple things that you said about your own self-care practice that I thought were really compelling, sort of given the ways that mental health and Black folks can be so tied to other things. So the first thing you said was that connection to the physical activity. And I just think given the rates of hypertension still and diabetes, right? Like it's so important that we have a community that is actively engaged and thoughtfully engaged in thinking about their physical well-being as well. And I think connecting that to community is always really helpful because nobody likes working out by themselves. And then beyond that, you mentioned mindfulness, and mindfulness is something that comes up a lot in my EDI consulting practice, both on the side of folks who may find themselves as microaggressors. Taking that minute for mindfulness is one of the number one ways that you can catch yourself before you say something that you don't need to say to someone else. And then secondly, I think those mindfulness moments can be so useful for those of us who are more accustomed to being on the receiving end of microaggressions, just in terms of placing where you are, what is happening, not letting it consume you, especially in those moments where you really do have to prioritize. I need to put this over here so that I can continue with my day. And I definitely am a person who experiences that on a very regular basis, right? So I think that mindfulness practice, I think that's a beautiful way to connect a lot of themes around mental health. And I hope folks can take time to find what theirs is, right? Because I am someone, I've tried lots of things, and I really didn't feel good about myself when I couldn't yoga. It just never computed in my head. And then I found other ways that really were very resonant with my experience and with how I'd like to spend my time and with how I hate to stretch. And that actually was a much better option for me. And I think there's a piece of this that's deeply individual. And I hope folks can prioritize figuring what that is for themselves.
Oh, 100%. Because, I really struggled for a really long time with feeling like I didn't deserve that, all of the gross, horrible stuff that we have to deal with, from birth, essentially sort of coming at us. I think like in my head, it was like, oh my gosh, this is all like ridiculous and terrible and I'm cool and like whatever. But like in your body like collects all that trauma. It's so many people have talked about it, and there's so many books, and articles and whatnot about how you are storing all of that trauma in your body, and to be able to just sort of move and stretch and release or do whatever is good for you. Like you actually deserve that. You actually deserve to be able to rest, to be able to breathe, to be able to dream. That is yours. That's your birthright. And, do not let anyone tell you that it's not, because like life just gets so much, not easier necessarily, but a bit better when you are, like you said, just being able to take that moment for yourself and just ground yourself and be present. And I'm here and I'm okay. And you got me fucked up. So, but we have a wonderful, wonderful jam-packed show for you all today. First off, I'm so excited that we finally are getting to share this conversation. Back in October, the three of us, well, Paige and I, traveled to New York to meet Lee, who is in New York. And we were able to do an episode of the show live at David Geffen Hall as part of Lincoln Center Education's open house, which was amazing and such an exciting event. And we're doing that again. Correct? Yes?
Correct. Correct. Mark your calendars, especially you two. But everybody, everybody should mark their calendars because we're all going. We're going to see some fun stuff, and this time we're bringing some new friends along. So I'm super excited to have some news to share about that in the coming weeks as well.
All right, so let's get started. Let's get started with the show, and we'll be right back with Jonathan McCrory live from David Geffen Hall, Lincoln Center Education Open House. We'll be right back.
Woo!
Wonderful. Well, speaking of different kinds of conversations, we have a guest. Oh my God! Are we ready? Is everyone ready? Are you ready? All right, let's do this. All right, let me get my notes though, child, because I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to mess up. So, Jonathan McCrory is a Tony Award and Emmy Award nominated producer, 2 Obie Award-winning Harlem-based artist who has served as executive artistic director at National Black Theater since 2012. He has directed numerous professional productions and concerts. He's been acknowledged as an exceptional leader, additionally through Crane's New York Business 2020 Notable LGBTQ Leaders and Executives. In 2013, he was awarded the Emerging Producer Award by the National Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and the Torchbearer Award by theatrical legend Woody King Jr. He is a founding member of the collaborative producing organizations Harlem 9, Black Theater Commons, the Jubilee, Next Generation National Network, and the Movement Theater Company. He also sits on the National Advisory Committee for HowAround.com and was a founding member of the original cohort for Art Equity. And I don't think we talked about 2019 and 2018, just by the way. And of course, it's always nice to talk to a fellow Washingtonian. And a graduate of the Duke Ellington School of the Arts and New York's Tisch. So come on up, Jonathan. Come join us. We have some questions for you. Everyone give him a hand. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for being here.
I mean, y'all are fun. This is good. This is some good Sunday energy. It's what I need. Thank you so much. I appreciate
You are
that.
welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for being here and blessing us with you and being our first guest on our new show.
I mean, this is an honor. I mean, I was like, Shonda was like, are you ready to be the first? I was like, the first. Oh, I'm christening things. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, boo. All right. Yes. Yes.
Well, first and foremost, I have to talk about Purlie Victorious.
Yes, child. Yes, let's talk about it.
I mean...
I mean, Purlie Victorious is a gorgeous masterpiece. So if folks don't know about Purlie, I'll give you a little bit of background. Purlie Victorious was written by the giant Ossie Davis. It was his first and last play. It was produced 61 years ago on Broadway, never had a revival, and this is the first revival of the show. Directed by Kenny Leon, starring Leslie Odom and Kara Young, with a magnetic, beautiful cast. It is happening at the Magic Box Theater, and National Black Theater is one of the co-producers. So it was our second time on Broadway. It's the second time a Black theater is actually holding the seat as co-producer.
Congratulations!
And over like
That's
50
amazing.
years. So it's a lot of watersheds happening, and it's pretty quite powerful.
Absolutely. We got the chance to see it last night, and it was, sometimes, you have a guest on and you're like, that was cute. But that experience was so beautiful and transcendent and funny, and it moved my soul. It really did.
I mean, what I'll lean into as far as the moving of the soul is how laughter works inside of our bodies, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes we don't actually give the privilege of understanding the mechanism of that vibration, right? Like if you study laughter is the only tool that is sonically inside the body that goes through all of your emotional verticals. So it actually allows for you to get close to nirvana and also allows you to get close to despair. And through the cracking of laughter, especially under this world that we currently live in, like if you're in a room where people are laughing, we are all cracking into our despair, but also cracking into our nirvana. And through all of that, allowing for us to have a different chemical reaction to what it means to have shared space. It actually allows for us to then be human with each other versus divisive. So it's actually the show as a mechanism with all of its comedic romp and all of its sensational, like it's actually a dangerous play. When you read it on paper, it's dangerous. When we were thinking about coming on, I was talking to Sade Lithcott, who is our CEO of MBT. I was like, are we really doing this? Like, is this really the play that we're gonna lean into in this current moment, knowing the society that we live under? And it was like a yes and, because the truth of the matter is that Ozzie Davis, as an artist, would never write something that wasn't about healing us. So if it is dangerous in its penmanship, the soul, the source, is full of grace and love and about us healing. So therefore, it has to be. So we have to lean into it.
I just was struck by how feeling that laughter and seeing what was happening on stage, the relevance of the story, and I felt like it was a show that my grandmother would have connected to and felt was really real and true to her experience, but also that I was feeling right here, right now in 2023. And so I wonder what it was like for you first encountering that script even. And I know you must have been blown away. And again, that feeling of, ooh, we doing this?
I mean, I was asking myself, where's his other work? Like I was saying like, estate, knock, 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 give me unpublished. I need unpublished memoirs, scripts, anything. Like give me the unfinished stuff, because that was his first and last. Like we don't like you would think that, oh, now I can go back and read the other stuff. No. They're in a vault somewhere. It's like the Prince stuff. It's like the Lauryn Hill stuff. Like, we all know Lauryn Hill is sitting on some gems right now
that we will never hear.
And Prince, and they say Prince has a catalog that will take like 40 years to actually truly be able to understand, right? And you think about this, what does brilliance look like, right? What does healed brilliance look like? And that is what I came to understand when I saw the script. Now, what actually truly transformed me was those artists. Like reading the script, you find all the concern. You find all of the moments that you're like, what should I be doing, right? But then when you talk to someone like Leslie Odom, who will be helming this ship and also coming on as a producer, right? Then you start to have a conversation of what safety or what care looks like. You start to have a conversation of what divine ordinance looks like, right? Then you think about someone like Kenny Leon, who's a venerated Broadway director, but also a venerated Broadway director in the particular space of revival. And how he is in a very, very beautiful moment in his career, right? I think if you think about Top Dog Underdog, and you think about like he's been growing still in his venerated stage, he's been growing in his craft. And witnessing this as a moment for him to grow in his craft. And then you also think about, well, the mechanism of what we need as a society right now. And I will say Fat Ham, which was our first Broadway show that we did, that we were able to bring to Broadway through the Public. We were co-producers on the original production at the Public Theater, and we were able to transfer it and be a co-producer on that as well. And what I've learned in this moment more so than ever, that if we are going to move past like I talked a little bit about it before, if we're going to move past the divisiveness, the binary, we have to then begin to have a conversation about the human. And the best way that I know us to get past that is through laughter. That ham taught us that. That ham taught me that, right? In a room where people could have gone to so many different places, so many different destinations, could have been distracted by so many other things. For a moment in time, we carve out a space to be just, I'm a curse, effing human, right? And if we are human with each other, if we learn what to do that for 90 minutes, can we take that out in the streets? Can we be human in the streets? Can we do that? And with that difference, what does the world now look like?
Who are besides ancestor Ossie Davis, who are the elders and the ancestors that you feel like speaking to you right now or have spoken to you in this time?
No, there's a list. There's a list now.
I
There's
like
a list
to hear
now.
it.
I mean, like, I want to bring up my grandmother. My grandmother passed maybe almost close to 2 to 3 years ago. And it's because of my grandmother that I made my first film that got an Emmy nomination. So that's how I got the Emmy nomination.
Oh, that's amazing.
So my grandmother is she's my champion, right? And her energy actually has cracked and opened so many opportunities, like blowing my mind. So why I made the film. So I made the film as a salve during the pandemic. It's called the road call, the roots of strange fruit. It is a I call it a sonic opera. It's broken up into 3 separate parts, and what it does is that it tracks basically the trajectory of 400 years of slavery, and it looks at an auction block notice from the antebellum South. It takes a collection of fugitive notices. I found about 150 fugitive notices, strings them all together, and then it looks at find your family notices during Reconstruction. And basically, you follow all of those through the voices of 5 to 6 actors, embodied by one singular dancer that basically takes you on the 500-year journey. And so at the last year of my grandma and my dad's life physically on this planet, they were both in the ICU, and I didn't have an outlet to figure out what to do with that energy, and I was going back and forth to DC trying to be a good grandson, be a good son in general. And James King at All Arts invited me to make my first film, and I was like, I don't make films. I do theater. I don't know what you thought I did, but I don't. I know people who make films. I don't make no films. Okay, I make theater. It says National Black Theater, not National Black Filmway. Okay, so we're in the process of. He finally gets me to finally say yes to making this film. I'm in the process of making this film, and throughout it all, it becomes a salve. It becomes a lovely, healthy distraction from having to go back and forth to the ICU. And the moment that I close the film, my grandmother passes away. So then I dedicate the film literally to my grandma. And what's been so beautiful and why she's such a strong guiding force is that film has opened up so many doors for me in ways that I can't even imagine. And it allows for me at every single time as I'm in this huge, expansive moment in my life, it allows for me to ground myself back into my grandma's energy, her embrace, the way that she believed in me, she loved me, she held me. So that as all these things are happening around my whole universe, I get to go back to that simple gesture of love and grace. So I would say those 2.
As you were talking about your grandmother, which was, got me right here thinking about my own grandmother, I frequently think about this quote that says, "We are our ancestors' wildest dreams," right? And I can imagine many ways that what you're doing right now makes your grandmother very proud, right? The other side of that is you're also doing things right now that you are this leader that you wanted to have when you were younger, right?
Yes, that's right.
So can you say a little bit about, maybe what is a leader you want to impart to younger people?
I mean, the leader that I want to impart to younger people, if there's anything that I get to impart, is that hopefully I showed how you can be profoundly have profound success, but be also inside of that profoundly kind. Mm-hmm. Like self-care club.
Yeah.
Yes.
Care can be a part of success.
Yeah.
We don't have to be so ruthless in order for success to show up. And we don't have to be catty in order for success to show up.
Yes.
And we don't have to be diabolically strategic. There is strategy, but you don't have to be diabolically strategic in order for success to show up.
Please speak on it.
So you want to preach today?
And so
Say more. Say more.
I'm just
for the people in the back.
I hope, and not saying I'm a human. There are moments probably after me saying that, I'ma tell you when you done that to me, okay? Because I'm human, right? I am human. But I also, in the same sentence of that reality of me being human, I also desire, with a deep desire, that I am able to show folks that care, compassion, thoughtful integration within community and outside of community, a love for your culture, a love for who you are and where you came from, can be the elixir to actually take you to the top and make it be sustained. Yeah. And it's not a moment that you get to, and that you don't have to capitalize off of who you are. You get to be who you are, and the capital shows up.
Well, I'm curious. On those days when you are dealing with people who do not subscribe to that philosophy, what are some of the things that you do? I know you mentioned meditation, but to take care of yourself that give you inspiration to keep going on those days that you want to just pull the covers over your head and not deal and not go forward. How do you find the inspiration to move forward?
Well, I mean, there are a couple of ways. One is that I carry people with me. So like my grandmother's bracelets on me, my great aunt's rings I have on. I have my godmother's mother's prayer scarf around me. I'm very I have high intentionality. I'm wearing a shirt that says Self-Care Club, right? It tells me what I need to be doing. I need to hydrate. I need to, like it says on the bottom. So I surround myself intentionally when I'm out in the world with mechanisms that help me to actually create the matrix to my own sense of abundance. So I think that's one. Two, I try to run my own race. I seek not to be in concert with anyone else's race. Sade and I's mascot is the turtle, because we want, even though it might feel like we're going really fast right now, we are trying to, that it wasn't always like that. This is high intentionality. It's almost like the Beyonce effect. Like Beyonce is almost 33 years in the making, right? And like we don't see the other 20 years. We only see the last 10, and we're just like, oh, she has made it. But like there was a lot of sacrifice that came in order for her to have the abundance that she's now riding in. So I try to run my own race and try to really focus on the turtle, not the hare. I will say what I also seek to do. So what I wear is part of it. Running my own race, and I will say lastly. I'm a huge plant dad, so I have about 78 plants.
Oh my God.
That I tend for and that I take care of. And a part of that, what that does, is that it reminds me how to create care mechanisms without words. How something speaks to me without words. How I need to create the opportunity for language not to be words, to be the only way language is actually articulated, and how I need to expand myself to truly be able to listen from a different space. And I think through all of that, listening, like all of that space of becoming, I then begin to have a care mechanism or a way to stay grounded, because this is a fully dangerous world. Yes. It's dangerous. It's dangerous because it's dangerous. There's too much distraction, actually, housed in how this world is constructed. However, it's also a beautifully abundant world at that as well. And for those of us, and if we can figure out our unique way to address it, then I think we could then start to unlock all those majestical things that are for us. Like I hope that that's what I get to do. I get to do what's for me, and I don't always have to do what's for somebody else.
I think that's an important thing for everybody to hear, except for the part about plants, because I'm married to a horticulturist, and we're not going to let him hear that part.
I I mean, for me, it brings up a question of like, there's so much we can do for ourselves, for our self-care, to build ourselves up, to be in the spaces we want to be in, but also community care is so important. And so one of my questions is, what do you feel like is needed right now in the industry, in the arts community, to support creators like you, to support Black theater artists? I know it's a big question. You're like, let me get out the list, honey.
Come on, I was just working on this morning. I mean, if I was to think about what are the things. I think listen for not the answer, but for what the request is. Actually, like I think sometimes we listen just going directly to the answer, but sometimes it's not about the answer, it's the process too. And sometimes it's about creating the mechanism for someone to be heard and witnessed. And I think that a lot of Black administrators and Black artists, they need to be witnessed. And through that witnessing, then find out what their solution is. But I think so many people want to go with already, it's always hydroperoxide, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just needs the air. Sometimes it's about actually pulling out something so that it doesn't have pus underneath it. Like, you know what I mean? It's not always, the salve that you know is not always the salve that is needed. And so I think being courageous enough, and I think I would lean to everyone being courageous, even if you are of melanated descent, but whoever you're talking to, be courageous enough to listen, not for the answer, but for the process too. I would say learn. I think what also is necessary for melanated artists in this moment in time in particular is figuring out how labor is not your responsibility.
Wait, say that again?
How labor is not your responsibility.
Oh my.
I think a lot of Black artists, especially after the pandemic, in the midst of the pandemic and during the shutdown, were really grappled with how do I define myself, because my definition has been built on this country by labor. Mm-hmm. And so then what happens when I divorce myself of that labor? Who am I? And the I am of who I am. Where's my value now if I cannot labor in this moment? Our ancestors tilled this, our DNA, our blood memory is coursed with history, language, and knowledge of labor as part of our existence. And so then what happens when you start to divorce yourself of that labor? Who do you get to become? Where do you get to go? What does rest look like as part of restoration, right? Or like you think about the Nap ministry, right? She says, do nothing. Yes. Do nothing.
Love her.
Like don't do don't do anything whatsoever, and just allow for it just to come through your body, right? Then the next thing I would say that I think a Black artist, so I talked about labor, I talked about, is this. I think this is really, really important. It is grief. Mm-hmm. We are grieving. Yeah. The world we knew is no longer. And we all, as society, haven't come into relationship to that grief. The lights were turned on and we said, go. Make something, do something, create programs, act like COVID ain't alive, ain't real. Act like the economics ain't real and you are not broke, you're really rich. Go make something happen, make reality happen, all those things. You were shut down in a quick second of a blimp of a moment. You saw millions of people die. You were a part of a civic unrest that actually labored your body to actually fight for your existence. And then in the blink of an eye, you also said, go back to the energy that you once had because capitalism needs to be a part of this conversation.
Preach.
And in the blink of an eye, you are not given a restoration, a reclamation with your grief. You were told your grief is not real. You were told you needed to be something else and you need to show up because you have to what? Make that guap. Because I'm no longer gonna make sure that you are actually restored. I'm gonna make sure that you are a vessel for my capitalistic tool. So I think that artists in general, people in general, need to have a conversation with their grief and create their own restorative salve to that, their own benchmark to that, because society will not create it, but you can. You can be in relationship with it. I've said this ever since my dear friend Christine Jean Chambers passed away, and I came into relationship to the intimate vibration of grief in a real harsh way. I am a recovering like grief, I like a grief, I don't think you ever, whenever you come in relationship to that kind of grief, I don't think you ever get over it. You're always recovering from it, and and me acknowledging my recovery from it allows for me to be as human as possible with you right here, right now. Allows for me to actually be a vessel. Allows for me to do that thing that I said I was trying to do with Dr. Barbara Antier and be a clear enough vessel to be a tool for my ancestors' wildest dreams to show up in real time. And I don't think that we as society have given us enough space, we as individuals have given ourselves enough space to actually acknowledge grief as part of the medicine we have to address.
Ooh, wow. Ooh.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That was a word. But I really, really want to keep having this conversation because you are incredible. We are going to have you on the show again, but unfortunately, we only have a few minutes left.
I did my job.
Yes, and you're going to have to do it again because there's going to be a part 2.
Hello, classmates. It's Emile, here again to bring you the morning announcements. I'm a violinist and a performer with a passion for collaboration, and I'm here to encourage you to go experience art. This is a short list of events and experiences, both live and virtual, that we think are cool and maybe you should check out. If you're turned on by this week's conversations and you're inspired to seek out some new live theater, here are a few suggestions from art class. The Juilliard Opera presents Francesco Cavalli's Erismena. The opera Erismena was first performed in Venice in 1655 and was the first Italian opera ever translated into English and performed in England in 1674. The production is put on by the Juilliard Opera Company and takes place at the Rosemary and Meredith Wilson Theater on the Juilliard campus on February 25th at 2 p.m. It will also be live streamed, so you can tune in live from all over the world to watch the magic of opera. This one's for our Chicago listeners. Get ready. Living All Alone, a musical about the rise of Phyllis Hyman, an artist and singer whose personal challenges were as great as her artistry. Critics have said even the most critical theatergoer will be fed and satisfied by this new production. The story of the beautiful yet tortured soul recounts a life of creativity, accomplishments, and personal success, tainted by terrible circumstances that would lead to her premature death. This is a touring production and will be in Chicago February 24th for 2 performances. The show then moves to Washington, D.C. in early March, and then Atlanta on March 16th, with more cities yet to be announced. Lastly, if you're in the mood for a little self-care, might I suggest staying home and watching theater online. This modern age has provided us with the ability to stream almost anything, and that includes live theater. The National Theatre of London has a library of hundreds of acclaimed theater productions available online wherever and whenever you need a moment of self-care. You can watch world-renowned theater from the comfort of your couch. With new plays added every month, you can stream brand new productions straight from the current National Theatre stages or delve into the treasure trove of classics from their archive. All recordings are captioned with optional subtitles, and many offer audio description, plus a selection of videos offer a British Sign Language option as well. If you'd like more information on any of the events I've highlighted, check out the links in the show notes, and I'll be back next time with more cool live art for you to experience. Bye, friends.
And we're back for today's Career Day. We have a very special guest with us today. Guest, what is your name?
Jennifer Lisette Lopez.
Oh, catchy. Where are you located?
I'm originally from New York, raised and educated, but I'm currently based in Madrid, Spain. I primarily work here in Europe, but do work remotely, which allows me to have quite a few international clients.
And what is your current job?
I fancy myself a Renaissance woman. So I'm actually primarily a choreographer and dance educator that teaches classes and facilitates lots of different events. But I'm also working regularly as a voiceover artist and makeup artist. I'm also a mom of two, a pleasure activist, and a community builder.
And what does a Renaissance woman do?
Well, as a choreographer, overall, I teach people how to feel shamelessly good in their bodies and connect with others through dance. I teach in-person classes as well as classes online, group classes that are open to all, as well as private lessons, dance classes for couples, especially first dances for weddings, as well as fun bachelorette party dance classes. I also create choreography and direct movement for music videos and theater, as well as facilitate dance activities for corporate events.
How did you first learn that this line of work even existed?
Well, when I was a kid, I watched a lot of MTV. I was pretty much obsessed with it, especially with Janet Jackson's music videos. One day I was watching Paula Abdul's Straight Up music video, and my dad walked in the living room and said, "You know that she's Janet's choreographer, right?" And I said, "What's a choreographer?" And he explained that Paula was the dancer that made up some of Janet's dance routines for her videos. I was first confused because I assumed that all singers made up their own moves or that all the artists and dancers just spontaneously synchronize their movements like that in the videos. So for me, it was a pretty cool moment, pretty big aha moment.
And how did you train for it? And for how long?
Well, to be clear, I didn't specifically train to be a choreographer or even a voiceover artist, but growing up in a household where my mother was an elementary school music teacher and with an Afro-Latino father who loved music and dancing, I was constantly exposed to all the performing arts. So our house was always filled with all kinds of music, from Beethoven to Boys to Men. I sang in the choir, played the French horn, did theater, and took dance classes all throughout my childhood and well into college. In high school, I even had the opportunity to perform small roles at the Glimmerglass Opera, which was located in a small town just over from where I grew up. I'd say all in all, I had formal training and experience since about the age of 5 until I was 22, I guess. And I haven't ever really stopped training, honestly. I'm still learning.
So, what did you study in school, and did it prepare you for this line of work in any way?
Well, if you mean what did I study in school, like what did I get my major in? I actually got my major in French and Romance
Oh,
philology. Yeah.
oh,
And that didn't really prepare me to be a choreographer as such, but it did prepare me to be able to live and work internationally. And it also gave me a wider global perspective, which definitely helped me, especially on the personal growth front. But again, I never specifically took classes to train to be choreographer or voiceover artist. I just sort of did it. I started making up dance routines when I was probably about 8, I think. And in college, I took tons of dance classes of every different style you can imagine and choreographed with the Columbia Musical and Theater Society and Orchesis, as you might recall,
nope.
which which definitely helped prepare me for this line of work.
Fascinating. What advice would you give others who might want to go into this line of work one day?
Usually, this line of work calls to people in a very direct way, meaning you sort of just know that you have to do it. Like you don't really have a choice. And it's certainly not the easiest line of work to get into, but it's not impossible. My advice would be to be ready to hustle. Don't give up, keep showing up and working hard, and make sure you have a strong and consistent self care routine. And make sure you have several different streams of income, one of which doesn't rely on your body in case you get injured.
Hmm. How do you practice self-care?
That is such an important question. I practice my daily self-care in 6 different ways. I know it's crazy, but it's so important. Number 1, good nutrition. Number 2, daily exercise or intentional movement that's not related to my job for at least 30 minutes every day. 3, I meditate twice a day. 4, I get enough sleep. 5, and this is really important, I practice gratitude and usually in the form of journaling, but I also have a lot of different ways that I do that. And finally, 6, and this is probably the most important, being part of a very supportive community of people who are aligned with all of our highest good as individuals as well as the world at large.
Hmm. I don't do any of those. I think I'll start doing all of those. Is there someone in this line of work whose career you admired as a kid or as an adult?
Well, as a kid, except for Paul Abdul and maybe Fred Astaire, I didn't really hear that many names of choreographers, honestly. In high school, my jazz teacher introduced us to Bob Fosse. As an adult working in this field, I can absolutely name some of my favorite choreographers, like Tina Landon, Jaquel Knight, Shea Latukolan, Kyle Hanagami, and Paris Goebel, to name a few.
What misconceptions do people have about this line of work?
Well, there are a couple of them. The first one is probably that people think that all choreographers and dancers do all day is just dance all day long. But the fact is, we do a lot of admin and all of our own marketing, or much of our own marketing and communication. The vast majority of our clocked working hours is outside of the studio.
Huh.
Another one is that to be a choreographer, you have to have started with a long career as a professional dancer with tons of training behind you, formal training, that is, and then maybe you can become a choreographer. The fact is that you can start choreographing right out the gate without even ever having formal training. I certainly did.
Huh. Fascinating. Looks like I'll be going on tour with Beyonce.
Hell yeah.
Have you any upcoming projects to plug?
Yes. As a matter of fact, this summer, you'll find me back in New York City at Lincoln Center, where I'll be hosting some events in the Summer for the City program called the Choreographing the Future Dance Education Series. Apart from that, if you're looking for someone to make all your dancing dreams come true, or if you want to have a killer voiceover artist for your project, you can find me in Madrid, or certainly reach out to me if you'd like to work with me online. My website is www.jenniferlisettelopez.com, and my handle on Instagram is Jennifer Lisette Lopez Dance.
Fantastic. And before you go, please answer this last question. Why should your line of work not be replaced by AI?
Oh boy. Well, I don't believe that AI can or should completely replace any line of work, especially when it comes to the arts. Fundamentally, art is the way that we humans express and communicate our emotions to one another. When AI attempts to create art, it loses something extremely important: emotion, human nuances, and soul. For example, if you've ever heard an AI-generated voiceover, you know exactly what I mean. Even a halfway decent one sounds just plain wrong, and they're actually really deeply disturbing to listen to. And since we're the only species on this planet that creates art in our very specific way, I would argue that art is actually what makes us uniquely human.
Well, you heard that, robots. Stay out of our way. Thank you so much for being with us today, Jennifer Lisette Lopez.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back after this break.
And we are back. And it is time for our very favorite part of the show. It is time for Pure Black Joy. PBJ, a little snack for your soul to get you through the rest of the week. This is where we shout out the Black people, places, things, ideas, food, music, culture, all of the things that are Black and that are making us happy this week. So who wants to go first?
I'm happy to go first.
Please do
it.
My pure Black joy is that I am in the midst of my first Mardi Gras as a New Orleans resident.
Amazing.
Yes.
So jealous.
It is already going fabulously. You know, went to my first second line, went to my first parade. There are others on the schedule. It is, if you've never been here for Mardi Gras during Mardi Gras season, you need to understand, first of all, that it is a season. It's not just the day. This has been going on for weeks already. And yeah, I'm just in the midst of curating my schedule. I'm trying to catch the Blackest parades. I'm trying to catch Zulu. Maybe I'll even get up at 5 a.m. and watch the crew of Skull and Bones wake up everybody for Mardi Gras Day. Definitely trying to see some Black masking Indians for sure. I'm trying to do it all. So I'm very, very excited.
That sounds amazing. Someday I want to get down there and experience that, because it just looks like so much fun.
It's so much fun. And little thing to add is that it's so important for me to see the Black Mardi Gras because Black folks were not always allowed at the big Mardi Gras with the white folks. So I'm going to go see what fabulous Mardi Gras traditions Black folks created anyway, because I know it's lit. It might be more fun than the other stuff. Who knows? I'm going to say likely,
I mean, not to be rude, but like,
Right. I don't want to be rude because I just got here, but there are certain assumptions that I'm gonna go ahead and make.
Mine's very quick. I'm still on Jay-Z's speech at the Grammys. I have been side-eyeing that man since before Lemonade. However, I'm shocked that we have made it 3 episodes into this podcast without talking about our queen, Beyonce. Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter. For those of you who have some respect, please go back and listen to episodes of The Score where we talk about Renaissance and any number of other things. We love her so much. And of course, Jay-Z also loves her. And so thank you for standing up there and saying the truth. And also for shouting out some of the people who perhaps do not belong in their categories. And then the Grammys went ahead and proved his point right away. And the less said about that, the better, because I do not want to get into an Ayo Edebiri situation someday when we have some of these people on our show. So.
Well, my good news is also Grammy related and is also short. I was super happy with a lot of the wins, best comedy album notwithstanding, but definitely wanted to shout out a couple of friends of the show, Julia Bullock, LaTanya Moore, and Jessie Montgomery, although Jessie may not know that she's a friend of the show, she certainly is. Super excited to see those wins, and was just generally excited to see that there was a lot of love for Black women artists last night, keeping the good energy of the Emmys going. Let's see, Oscars, if y'all are going to play nicely this year. More on that in about a month.
We'll see.
I'm already mad.
I mean, obviously I did not see The Color Purple, but I support. So I already know that it's already some mess. And also I'm just going to go ahead and say justice for SZA. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
And we've got our episode title.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. Ooh, that's going to get some clicks. All right. Well, that was, I'm exhausted, y'all. That was a lot.
We did it this morning.
We did it. But thank you all so much for joining us once again. It's such a joy to be able to do this show and to connect with all of you. And I'm curious, if there, going back to our earlier conversation about self-care, are there any self-care practices, community practices that we can share with our little communities? So, why don't you reach out to us at artclasspod@gmail.com, and we just might read some of your suggestions on the air because it's such an important topic. And I also was thinking, I made a little joke about my thoughty pictures on Instagram, but is it a joke? So if you wanna follow us, I think that would be great. Get to know us a little bit better. So I'm at Rocky Jones Picture Show, and Lee.
Everybody _loves_ Lee. And don't worry, Mom, I've got all my clothes on social media.
I have all my clothes on.
Mine is at Cradle and Cowrie, which is the name of my birthwork, universe. But you'll also hear about abolition and about Black spiritual things. So, if you like that and Orishas and babies and abolition, then follow me.
And I should also say, it's not just gym pictures of me. It's also occasionally a deep thought and cute pictures of my cat.
That's why I'm really there. It's the cat.
Well, she is very pretty. Yeah, so that's our show. Thanks so much for joining us once again, and we will be back in 2 weeks. Any words of wisdom before we go, y'all?
Vote, register to vote.
Yes.
I should say that every single episode. Register to vote and then vote.
Yeah, we should have like at the end of RuPaul's Drag Race, the little sign.
Yes.
Yes, register to vote, please. And justice for SZA. All right, that's it. Bye. Class is dismissed. Thank you so much for checking out Lincoln Center's art class. The show is hosted by Lee Bynum, Paige Reynolds, aka Mabole Inawale, and me, Rocky Jones. The show is produced and edited by yours truly. Our artwork is by Patricia Sanchez Navarro, and our music is Dope Skeletons by Frequently Asked Music. If you enjoyed what you heard, you can really help us out by telling all of your people about the show, subscribing on your podcast platform of choice, and yes, leaving us a positive review wherever you're listening, but especially on Apple Podcasts. It's a small act, but it really, really helps us out, and we just might read your review on air. If you'd like to learn more about the show, please visit the art class page at lincolncenter.org, follow all of Lincoln Center's various social media profiles, and feel free to reach out to us anytime at artclasspod@gmail.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, class is dismissed.